All right, check, check, check. Just checking in. So I've got everything kind of moved around. So I've got to get my bearings. There might be some mess ups, whatever, in here. This is live. I'm not going to try and edit and post or anything else. Just been taking some recent days, really just like over the last 2 days, but just really thinking hard on what trajectory we really want to like broaden in the near future, moving forward. And it comes to my attention sometimes when we move backwards. I'm going to bring on a 639 hertz frequency, so just bear in mind that that's happening. And just a quick update, we do have sunshine. This is sunshine. It's technically now my sister's boy, but that's Kiwi's son. He's number 8 out of 9, and I get the week with him while my sister's in LA. But I'm going to bring on Pierre from Inner Lotus Music's video here. I'll just shot that real quick from Inner Lotus Music. So please, for meditation purposes, if you have any interest whatsoever in frequencies or meditation, like, congrats Pierre also on 1 million subscribers. That's fantastic. I'm going to dial this back, so I just know that maybe it's not competing too much with everything else. But anyhow, put a like on him, subscribe to him. It's interesting when you look back on like your old stuff, right? So like I've got this old YouTube channel, and it's kind of interesting sometimes to like funnel in there. So I didn't mean to kill that feed. Let me go ahead and get that 639 hertz frequency up again, and I have to pick another one, but nonetheless make sure it's from Inner Lotus, because, well, it's my favorite. Okay, we'll bring that one down. This is actually all 963, so that's crown, 639 heart, and 396 down at the bottom. But anyhow, put a like on that one. Jump back over to that other tab. So really all I wanted to kind of showcase is like, it's kind of interesting to go back and look at the old channels, right? There's so much that was on this channel that was deleted, but there's also so much of me like at a much younger age, right? And that's what's interesting and fun to me about it in a big way, is like looking back on some of this content and all these old playlists. I have my Knox Farms and my journey entries and some events that I did when I lived in Washington, some Kiwi videos, Knox House. I've always named everything Knox, and I've been Knox as an alias, but the undercurrent of it is like there's a vlog aspect to this too, when I know in certain videos where to go back and see what my perspective was. And the most interesting thing about that at this junction is, and really will probably likely always be, is that we're always like perpetuating a cycle moving forward into something, towards something, or that's relationships and so on and so forth. And that's what brings me to this kind of introduction, because Knox Studios really is all about the Knox network, right? It was about building something. It was a big idea. A long, long time ago, a guy like this used to knock on people's doors on a day in, day out basis, especially in the summers, but I was a big off-season person traveling all the western United States, and talking about bills on television service between Dish Network, DirecTV, Comcast, and any other localized cable network. And in that process, it was at a time when I really just needed to come into my own in a big way. And I think anybody who's younger, especially, like, there's an element to coming into our own where we're like subdued by so much fear of just being a version of ourselves, because you can't really trust yourself until you go through something. And that was my big awakening into the real world of like networking and getting to know people and what it really took to sell something to another individual. And it certainly wasn't the product, right? It wasn't the actual tangible item or the bill or anything else. It was always the way in which that someone could communicate to them. And I could tell when a bad day was like, and I could tell what a good day was like, and I could flip a switch. There was subtle things in our day that would just turn it on. And at a certain point, it just like there was a lackadaisical approach when I got good at that too. I could recognize it, and I remember getting to the end of that series of years that it wasn't worth the effort, and there was something inside of my brain that just flipped a switch and was like, I can't keep moving 3 times a year. I can't keep just having like 2 weeks back here at home and then out on the road for 3 to 4 months and back to here. It was just so much inconsistency. And this is something I have to remember right now, is that there's so much gratitude to be had in what I do actually have, although it's not a lot. And I've very I guess just integrally, I don't know where it comes from, but I almost don't want so much of the world. I never have, and whenever I've had too much excess, it kind of plagues my soul in a way, or like it starts aiming me in nefarious and just like unnecessary paths. But it's like this distinction between a rock and a hard place. And then, so if they got the rock, right? Well, the hard place, there's nowhere else to go but forward. Then I'm just like, okay, I'm on the ball. And it's just like, that's such an exhausting place to be at. And that's when I finally just surrendered for the first time and just kind of said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And it was the biggest decision I made, but a great one too, where I ended up in Spokane for 5 years, started the YouTube channel, and got Kiwi. And Kiwi is right here, which you can't really see her, but I can. There you go, baby. And Kiwi became a part of my heart. So like in this channel, this old channel, and let's say season 2, end of season 2, it's all over the place. There's all these videos, and at the very end there's episode 20. And in episode 20, I'm just like out walking about and, not screaming or anything, but this is 2016, literally 8 years ago, and it's just incredible to think that just 8 years ago, this is where I was, completing my first year. I was at a year to year and a half of having Kiwi. It's an early spring it's very like kind of damp and rainy, and just excited for the spring, the next version of the Knox Farms, garden that I was growing. And I felt very filled up, but even now, like looking at myself though, I have such like anxiety, and there was still so much like fear riddled inside of me with the discussion that I was giving to myself in this video, and the justifications and the perspective that I had then. And not that it's shifted dramatically since, but I can see when I watch something like this from the past and give myself that opportunity to do so, that this is a guy that from then on, like literally just allowed his hair to grow out to all full length and go through a heartbreak all over again, and went through all these like pitfalls and struggles and approaches and justifications and rationalizations. And it's a beautiful journey, and I can't take that for granted. Never can take that for granted. Can't ever like pretend or sit on some pretense of, oh, well, I got it figured out and this is definitely how it goes. I'm sorry if there is any glitching going on your end right now, but when I use my television over here, it does that. I don't know if it'll happen on the recording. But the reason for this video is just kind of like early October 2024. I'm just like, it's amazing to me to recognize like the impact that certain actions have taken me to. But I also have to come to like that rock again, that rock in a hard place, and realize there's parts of this where it's like, is this really something that I truly want to be doing anymore again? Same thing when I got to that end of that rope and was like, do I really still want to just keep knocking on people's doors the whole time? Like, what is the best life for me? And I do realize and have to recognize that, you know, although my intentions have always been very great and sound, like, it's robbing me of my life to really like create the actual in-person relationship that I need and desire and believe that I deserve at this point. So what is it going to take to actually have that? Like, what's the next thing I've got to be willing to let go of? Because what's interesting to me about a YouTube journey and just like being so much videos online, and it's not about the viewers or any of that stuff, it's about putting together a collection that's like really authentic to myself. You know, because for every season that I go through, I get these opportunities to truly just be true to my nature, to like really hone in on that decision making skill, if anything else. The read and react, and you know, I had this video on the old channel as well where it's like talking about this search for the authentic self. And you know, I know, and I can remember so intensely where I was at in that moment. And this is, if anything, what I want to be able to do in my meditations and creating these meditations too on this channel, is to be able to not just like have to visually recall by a vlog, for example, but literally just be able to place myself in that young version of myself too, by video logging it, be able to recall the high and the low, because the pendulum that's constantly in swing or in flux, I recognize, oh, this is bad, and then whoop, all the way to the polar opposite, and then whoop. Over time, like, you get to this middle ground where it's like, okay, I don't need to be so anxious or upset. I don't need to swing from such highs of, you know, exuberance to just the absolute low. Be able to be as middle grounded as possible in order to hopefully instill that by a way of being, you know. And sure, there's a lot to listen to. There's a lot of excess going on in the news and just crazy stuff right now. And a big part of me just has to really dial back and like recognize the attacking nature of the web, you know. And it's dramatic to me, and I see this because I have multiple channels, and sometimes, like in the last couple of days, I switched over to my old channel. That's the only time I was getting any feed for the news that was going on in the world, because otherwise, like, the algorithm's such a bubble, all I'm hearing is by word of mouth what the heck is going on in the rest of the world. And all I'm recognizing is this increase in energy around me, and understanding, like, do I need to react to this, or do I just need to breathe? Do I just need to take it calmly and collectively, and just take in the universe one day, one step at a time? So here, like, this balancing act between this crown chakra, this heart chakra, and this root chakra. In between there is all these cords of energy flowing and moving and disrupting me. In my last interview, I came to this conclusion at the end of about sound healing. Well, anything that can be used to heal can also be used as an energy that can be destructive. But there's a polarity where anything external really can't affect me. That's the goal anyway right now. I've been everywhere from, you know, in the cannabis industry to selling life and health insurance to working very mundane retail jobs to making the most money as an independent salesperson. And all these different jobs have always brought me to a newer, greater, broader understanding of singular individual entities as they are. However, over a certain amount of time, this is the beauty of having the life that I've been able to have, is to take in all of those lessons and not like glue myself to any individual one of them, so that I can learn, expand, and grow. But because of it, I've also given up the number one thing, and that is to not have that relationship with one other person that can create for procreation, for that human energy force that we all desire in our hearts and in our loins. Then our mind is getting in the way 100% of the time. That's what robs us of our heart space and our intuition, our lower integral personal physical intuition in our belly, that solar plexus. So if I'm like not truly invoking what I want, and I'm literally just reacting to what's being fed, is that really truly the authentic self? And that's the question I pose to myself today. I'm so grateful for being able to showcase so much, but I've also recognized the losses that have been accrued in pursuit of those things, because the energies of this world is absolutely, out of line, in my opinion. But nonetheless, we move forward in pursuit of just learning how to present and be true to these types of principles, and do our best not to beget or subject to this external inflection. Anyhow, I hope that you guys just enjoy. I just want to sit and meditate for a minute, just remembering a brief time in which we too have set a new precedent for ourselves that may have led us towards something that maybe wasn't necessarily intended for us, and then just recalling a bit. In meditation, remember, just closing our eyes and getting us to this position of understanding and remembering that we're not here to suffer, and we're not here to just have these lower level circumstances beget to fear. It's neither the lower that needs to be come to, or nor the higher that we need to constantly be seeking, but rather this heart space, that moment in our lives where it's wow, I made a conscious decision to change something in my life. And really take a moment to reflect on that, and to realize how much has changed or shifted since that moment. Really finding that gratitude and that appreciation for having picked up that book and started writing in it as a journal. For having saved that kitten that ended up being your lifelong partner, at least for maybe 5 to 10 years, 15 years. To getting out of your comfort zone and actually going and saying hi to that person that you otherwise were so terrified to introduce yourself to. And just be grateful. Be grateful that you said hi. You welcomed in the world. You took on something that was outside of a comfort zone. An egoic tendency that was created and programmed inside of you. And as we sit back and just take in a deep breath, hold it, and then let it go. One more breath. Hold it. Let's bring ourselves to the present moment, to right now, what we can create for ourselves in this moment. Letting go of this or that and this mistake and that mistake, and just really trusting that intuition. To trust the universe that there's things that are good in store, and sometimes it's just a matter of letting go and moving forward, moving past and through that fear. Now I invite you to open your eyes and move forward and glance at the first thing that kind of catches your attention, and just kind of have an open eye glare at it. Not specifically at the item or the object itself, but look at it and then look through it. I'll make it almost blurry, as though you're just kind of like meditating in that general space, that proximity. And just think to yourself what it took to make or create that form of that object, and all the other working hands that may have took before. And the seed of that object, maybe you'd call it a chair, maybe you'd call it a computer, maybe you'd call it a table or a battery, a speaker, a blanket. Just take a moment to recall like what it takes to make that item, whether it's by the hands of another, the workmanship, the shipping, the handcraftedness, the personality. What does it take to create something like that? Could you yourself create that right now? And what's beyond that one thing, that one area? Could you alone create what's in front of you? And then finally just close your eyes again and take a moment to sink in on that. And we want to send our love and gratitude to those that have allowed us to create, to be a version of ourselves. And we thank the collective and we give that love away. Bring it in, receive the love, and then we give it away. It's really all I wanted to do today, I suppose, is just do a brief check-in. Make sure you know I'm not lost out here, not like wanting to check in whatsoever. I'm just kind of in my space, trying to keep my energy not too invested in one singular thing. You know, recognizing that the focus that I need to have doesn't just come from here. It needs to come also from here and from where I place my feet on a day in, day out basis. That means allowing me that opportunity to take a walk, enjoy my outdoor time, feed my soul with literal food, taking time to cook and exercise and be a part of nature, so that I can keep this clear of all the obstacles that this world is riddled with. Thank you so much. Peace be with you all. That's always the game plan. Maintain every day as a peaceful, grateful, joyful, happy experience, so long as we don't extend our energy too far away.